In this video, we're going to look at how to create a backing track using MuseScore and a DAW, a digital audio workstation. This backing track will be in preparation for the HE1T technology option at Leaving Cert Music. The sample piece we're going to use today is Tarantella by Paul Zilcher. Step 1 is inputting the score into MuseScore. While there are many ways to make a backing track, starting with MuseScore is an efficient way to get the notes and the arrangement tied down before fine-tuning your backing track in a DAW. Once you have the notes input and you're happy with how it looks and you're happy with the arrangement, the next step would be to put in chords above the appropriate place of the melody, the right hand. The reason for doing this will become apparent when we get the piece into our DAW. The other thing you might want to do right now is mute the melody of the right hand, as the intention for this backing track is that it will accompany a student performance, whereby the student will play the right hand of the piano live along to the backing track on the day. A quick way to do this is go to the View panel, select Inspector and make sure that that is on, and then you get this panel to the right. I'm now going to select the first bar of the piece, scroll down to the very last bar of the piece, and while holding Shift, I'm going to select that part as well. Now the entire right hand of the piano is selected. In my Inspector panel, I'm going to go to Notes, and now all of the notes are highlighted, and I'm going to make sure that the play box here is toggled off. So I want no check in that box. Once that happens, I can play back the piece in MuseScore, and all you're going to hear is the chord and the left hand of the piano. The next step is exporting this MuseScore file to MIDI. We come to File, go to Export, make sure that MIDI is the format selected, MIDI, and then click Export. Name the file something that you'll recognize. I'm going to save it to my desktop now so I know where to retrieve it. The next step is importing our MIDI file that we've just exported into our DAW. The DAW I'm using today is called Ableton, but this will work in Audacity, GarageBand, BandLab, or any other DAW you happen to use. I'll go to my desktop, I'll find Tarantella paulzilcher.mid, and then it's just a straightforward case of dragging and dropping in the information. It'll ask me, do I want to import the tempo and time signature data? And I'm going to say yes to that. And you'll see that 6/8 has now become the time signature and 180 has become the tempo. What we have here then is the chords information on the blue track and the left hand piano information on the pink track. If I play this back now, nothing happens because I haven't assigned an instrument to these parts just yet. It is worthwhile renaming these now so I know what's going on. So I'm going to take the chords, bring it down here. One other step I like to take now is I'm going to duplicate this track. Control and D lets me do that very easily in Ableton. And in this MIDI information, I'm going to come into the MIDI viewer, and I'm going to make sure that all of the bass notes, the root notes here, are selected and deactivated. So I deactivate them by hitting 0. I come into this one and I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to make sure all of the chords are selected and deactivate those. So now I have separated the bass part from the chords part. So we have the left hand piano, the chords on this blue track, and now the bass part isolated on this green track. The next step now is to assign instruments to each of these parts. In Ableton, I come over to this little drop down menu, and what I'm going to search for here is woodwinds to play the left hand piano part, woodwind ensemble. I drag and drop over here, and then what we have is this. On the chords part, I'm going to choose string instruments. And for the bass part, I'm going to choose a double bass. Over here, I'm able to manipulate the articulation of that bass. And To give the chords part a bit more definition, I'm going to come over to MIDI effects here, and I'm going to put an arpeggiator in front of these string instruments. And now what I get is a broken up arpeggio of the chords. So right now, all of the tracks together sound something like this. So what we have here is the completed backing track, and there's just a few more things to say in terms of what's going on. We have woodwinds playing the left hand part, we have our string arpeggios, and we have our double bass playing the parts from before, so that's these three together. But it's worth noting that I've changed the balance on a few of these. So the strings, for instance, have a -2 volume, so I've taken down the volume a little bit for balance, and they're also panned now to 23 positions to the right hand side of the stereo field. The other thing I've added down here are 2 percussion tracks, and these can be very helpful to keep the student in time during performance. On this track here where it says drum rack, it's a tambourine, and it sounds something like this. On the low track here, I've got a kick drum. The percussion tracks together sound like this. And you'll also notice the music doesn't start until 2 bars in. And again, the candidate on the day of an exam will press play. This percussion section will give them the count they need to get started before the music starts. The top line here, I've reintroduced the melody just so you can hear it in action. So it's muted right now, so it's grayed out here. But I can turn that back on. When it's yellow, it means it will play. And I'll do a bit of a before and after. This is just the backing track without the melody, and then I'll play it with the melody. And then with the melody. The final thing to say is at the end here, I've just made sure that all the instruments end on a long A minor note. This just brings the piece to a more complete finish. So that's how I go about making a backing track using a combination of MuseScore and a DAW, in this case Ableton.